Before we get started, I just wanted to quickly apologize if my voice sounds a bit nasally today. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but it's playoff baseball time, so we gotta fight through it. Baseball's greatest month is upon us, and I wanted to dedicate my first October video to the MLB postseason. Today, I'd like to take a look at some crazy MLB playoff stats. Some you may have heard before, and hopefully most you haven't. We also asked you guys on Twitter to join the conversation, so some of the stats highlighted in this video will be fan submissions. Before we get started, go down to the comment section, leave some of your favorite MLB playoff moments in baseball history. If I decide to do another playoff video, they'll be included there. Now without further ado, let's get into some cool postseason stats. We all know Madison Bumgarner is the best playoff pitcher of all time. But just how good is he? He has a .25 career World Series ERA in 36 innings, which is the best in MLB history among starters or relievers. His .528 whip and 3.5 hits per 9 in the World Series are Major League history leads as well. He's pretty unbelievable. Colby Rasmus wasn't the most well-known player in the league. He was your average player, but surprisingly above average in the postseason. He's Major League Baseball's second best career postseason hitter, hitting .423 in 35 career plate appearances. The next one is a fan submission from Cincy Ambassador over on Twitter, and isn't really a statistic as much as a fun fact, but Cincy writes, "The White Sox have a more recent championship than the Dodgers." Now that was an eye-opener to me, for sure. We've got another fan submission here from Michael Lantern. The Braves are the only baseball franchise to win a World Series in 3 different cities. They won as the Boston Braves in 1914, as the Milwaukee Braves in 1957, and as the Atlanta Braves in 1995. That was a pretty cool stat. Now here's a stat I talked about on Twitter the other day. Since I was born, the Oakland Athletics have played in 9 winner-take-all postseason games and have lost every single one of them. It must hurt like hell to be an A's fan. Another fan submission, this one from Eddie Van Dutton, which I found kind of funny. Ronald Acuna has more postseason at-bats than Mike Trout. Come on, Epler and company, you gotta do better. This is the best player of my time we're talking about here. Surround him with better players and get him back to the playoffs. In last year's World Series, Red Sox ace Chris Sale became the 9th pitcher and the first since Hal Newhouser in 1945 to record the first and final outs of the World Series. While we're on the topic of the Red Sox, let's stick there for another one. Boston is the only team in the American League East to ever knock the Yankees out of the playoffs. 1 like on the video equals 1 prayer for the boys. Another fan submission here from Julian Harden, which I'm going to put an asterisk on because I couldn't confirm it, but Julian writes that the Braves are 0-9 in postseason opening games since 2001 and 7-1 in the NLDS following a Game 1 loss since 2002. They're good at battling back after a Game 1 loss, as we saw in Game 2 of the division series recently. 21-year-old Gavin Lux of the Los Angeles Dodgers made history in Game 1 of the division series against the Walgreens Mascots. He became the youngest Dodger player to ever homer in a postseason game, the youngest player ever to hit a pinch hit home run in a postseason game, and the second youngest player to ever hit a homer in his first postseason plate appearance. That's a lot to come from one swing of the bat. Derek Jeter is one of the best shortstops to ever play the game of baseball. He's also one of the game's best postseason hitters. So what all-time playoff categories does he lead in? At-bats, runs scored, hits, total bases, singles, doubles, triples, and strikeouts. If you can sort of extrapolate the stats here, he's played in more playoff games than any other player in history. 33 more games, in fact, than the second place player, of course another Yankee in Jorge Posada. Our next short but sweet statistic comes from Tim Juice on Twitter, who writes, 3 players in postseason history have hit a homer on their birthday. Willie Aikens in 1980, Evan Longoria in 2013, and Colton Wong in 2015. The next one comes from Matthew Malucci on Twitter. Yogi Berra once went 90 at-bats in the postseason without striking out. That's a pretty incredible feat that spanned over 5 years. There's only been 1 triple play turned in MLB postseason history, and that took place in the 1920 World Series by Bill Wambsgans of the Cleveland Indians. Sorry if I butchered that. Clayton Kershaw is a future Hall of Famer and arguably the greatest pitcher of my lifetime, but he certainly had his struggles in the playoffs. He has an unbelievable 2.44 career ERA, but a whopping 4.32 career postseason ERA. That's a 77% increase from regular season to postseason. That's absolutely crazy. 303 no-hitters have been thrown in the history of Major League Baseball, but only 2 have been thrown in the postseason. One by Yankees hurler Don Larson in the 1956 World Series, and the other by the late Roy Halladay in the 2010 NLDS. I'll never forget where I was when I saw his no-hitter as a kid, and I'll certainly never forget the great career of Roy Halladay. If you enjoy this video and you want to see more playoff baseball videos, let me know by liking the video and telling me what you thought about it in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can start by hitting the subscribe button and help us get to 30,000 subscribers. We're getting pretty close to that, which is awesome. I hope you continue to enjoy the playoffs as much as I am. If you want to talk about the games in real time, I'm always tweeting about them over on Twitter. If you'd like to talk with me and some others there will be a link to that down in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you guys soon.